CSC, State Public Service Commission, SSC Combined Graduate Level and CLAT examinations. So do visit AKS IAS Academy and the website of AKS IAS Academy. About me, I am Sandeep Bhushan Tumala and my credentials are I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I teach international relations and internal security and analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And this session will definitely help you in regards to having an edge over others for the prelims as well as mains examinations, because I would be emphasizing throughout my lecture, I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases from the news item, that is from the daily news analysis. I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases, and while emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases, I will make you understand that how we need to identify the factual, analytical and conceptual questions which are very useful for preliminary examination. So definitely we will focus on the preliminary examinations by emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases so that we can identify the factual, analytical and conceptual questions for prelims. And also my session will be useful for mains examination, that is in regards to the answer writing. So how it would be, my session would be helpful for you in regards to the mains examination is that by imbibing the keywords and the key phrases in your answers in the mains examinations, wherein your answers, once you imbibe the keywords and the key phrases, your answers would certainly be precise and concise, which is being demanded by the UPSC, so that you can score higher marks in the mains examinations. So definitely for prelims point of view and also from mains point of view, my session, that is AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis by me, that is Sandeep Bhushan Tumala, will be helpful for you to crack prelims and mains examinations, that is for 2020 as well as 2021. And we will focus on the daily news analysis, that is today's daily news analysis, that is of 2nd September. That is of 2nd September daily news analysis we will focus. And as my tagline goes, like emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases. I reiterate once again, my session, that is AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis by me, will definitely help you in regards to or have edge over others in prelims, mains and also in the interview, that is in the personality test. So do take the maximum advantage by the AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis. And before we get into the daily news analysis, the quote of the day we will look at: there are no limits to what you can accomplish. So there are no limits to what you accomplish, except the limits you place on your own thinking. So definitely there are no limits when you are actually thinking about your accomplishment or your success or your final goal, except the limits you place on your own thinking. So what is important is you are definitely somewhere the other individuals, I mean the human being, have the limits on the thinking. So do not have any limit on your thinking. Make sure that you have unlimited thinking, so that you will accomplish your goal, your task, you would be successful. So definitely there are no limits to what you accomplish, except when you are having or when you have any kind of limits on your thinking capacity. So what is important is your success depends on the way you think. Your success depends on the way you think, the way you have the positive attitude. So no limits on your thinking, so definitely you would succeed. And before I get into the daily news analysis, I would say a very good morning to all who are in the live and also in the live chat. And I request once again, the one who are in the live but do not get into live chat, please do part of the live chat so that you can express your views and it could be an interactive session. And I would say very good morning to Praveen Kumar, Rahul, Ram Kumar, Padmavati, Harika Yadav, Madhu, Bhargav, Ramula Nenawat. Very good morning to all and a warm welcome to AKSIAS Academy. That is daily news analysis by me, Sandeep Bhushan Tumala. And Bhargav, I think you have joined after long time. And Ramula Nenawat, if I am not wrong, you have joined for the first time, and a warm welcome to you, Ramulu. And now we'll get into the topic, the daily news analysis from the Hindu. So we will look at the news that which talks about the Allahabad High Court. So we will look at the Allahabad High Court order. Allahabad High Court order. So the Allahabad High Court order, as it has ordered the UP government. So please look at it. So Allahabad High Court has ordered the UP government to release whom from the jail? Release Dr. Kafil Khan. So we will look at first what is very important is the news, that is the Allahabad High Court has ordered the UP government to release Dr. Kafil Khan. Why? We'll look at why again. Because he was arrested. He was charged by the UP government. He was arrested or charged by the UP government in February 2020. Actually, he was first arrested in December. If you look at, I will tell you about the chronology. December 2019, he was arrested. Again in the month of January 29. Again January 29, 2020. And again February 2020. So we will look at this chronology. So on December 29, 2019, Dr. Kafil Khan, what the UP government says is Dr. Kafil Khan has made provocative comments, had made an inflammatory and a provocative comments in his speech. He has given a speech in Aligarh Muslim University. So the UP government says that he has made an inflammatory and provocatory comments in his speech wherein he has spoken in Aligarh Muslim University on the Citizenships Amendment Act (CA). On the CA, he has made a statement, or he has given a speech, and in the speech what the UP government says is they were inflammatory and provocative, that it was very disturbing, that people might get impacted by his speech, and then it could be a kind of law and order situation. That is what the UP government has said in December 2011. And January 29, 2020, he was actually, December 2011 he was arrested, and January 29 he was actually released on bail from Mathura jail. On January 29 he was released on bail from Mathura jail, but immediately he was lodged after his arrest on the stringent law. Again he was arrested. He was about to get a bail from the Mathura jail, where he was actually being part of the entire inflammatory and provocative statement by the UP government, and they have put him in jail. But on January 29, when he was supposed to get a bail, again he was arrested, or he was booked under the stringent law. We will look at what law is that. That is National Security Act. He was booked under National Security Act 1980. So this is the chronology of it. So we have looked at why Dr. Kafil Khan has been arrested and when he has arrested by the UP government. So December 2019, January 29, again February, he was again slammed by the National Security Act on Dr. Kafil Khan. So now what is important is we will look at the Allahabad High Court. What the Allahabad High Court has given a judgment to the, or it has passed an order to the UP government, is to release Dr. Kafil Khan, because it says that the way you have arrested is illegal. Release him, and then make sure that is declared, also declare the extension of the period So they were actually trying to extend the jail term of Dr. Kafil Khan. And this extension of the jail term also, the Allahabad High Court very clearly states that it is also illegal. It is also illegal. So arrest is also illegal, and then it is directing the UP government to release him from jail, and then they have said that even the extension of the period to Dr. Kafil Khan on the NSA, National Security Act 1980, is also illegal, it says. And how the Allahabad High Court has responded and given an order in regards to the UP government to release Dr. Kafil Khan, because it was habeas corpus. Dr. Khan's mother has filed an habeas corpus writ. So what is important is this writ is important for us for prelims point of view. For prelims point of view, writ is important. National Security Act, on the base he was slapped that he would be arrested because of the inflammatory and the provocative comments wherein he had made a speech on the Citizenship Amendment Act in the Aligarh Muslim University in December 2019. So what is important is habeas corpus. This is very important for us in regards to the prelims point of view. And then Citizenship Amendment Act, and then the National Security Act. National Security Act order. So what order was passed? It is Allahabad High Court has given direction setting aside the National Security Order. Look at it. Allahabad High Court has kept aside the National Security Act which was imposed by the UP government on Dr. Kafil Khan. And because it has taken up the issue, because Dr. Khan's mother has filed an habeas corpus writ petition in the Allahabad High Court. So this is very important for the prelims point of view. National Security Act order it has set aside, Allahabad High Court, and then in regards to habeas corpus writ, and then Citizenship Amendment Act. And as I said this, so it is also not, the court is not happy with the Dr. Khan's detention and the extension. So it is not happy with the detention of Dr. Kafil Khan and the extension of his jail term. Extension of his jail term, twice the detention sustainable in the eye of the law. So it is not, the court is not really happy with the detention, extension of Dr. Kafil Khan under National Security Act 1980. This is important, under National Security Act 1980. And what the court says is, the government hasn't produced any kind of material. So there is non-supply of material. This is important. What the court has given a statement that it virtually amounts for non-supply material. So it doesn't provide any kind of material that the speech by the Dr. Kafil promotes hatred and violence. And also it says that it does not threaten any kind of peace and tranquility of Aligarh itself or of Aligarh itself. So the UP government which has filed a case against, it says that Dr. Kafil Khan, because there is no supply of material, they are unable to promote. I mean, it doesn't promote. Dr. Kafil Khan's speech does not promote hatred, does not promote hatred or violence. That is what it says. Does not promote hatred and violence, and there is no threat. It does not provide any threat to peace and tranquility in where? In Aligarh. So it is very clear that the court is talking about there is no supply of material. So what is important here is no supply of material. And why it is talking so that no supply of material? Because now what is important is, again here Supreme Court's verdict is important, National Security Act 1980 is important, habeas corpus writ is important for us, and non-supply of the material, and Article 22 of Indian Constitution is important for polity point of view. So it says that it is very necessary to submit a representation from the government of UP in accordance with the clause 5. So if you look at clause 5 of the Article 22 of the Indian Constitution, they have to submit a representation, and that is not being provided by the UP government. That is what the court says. And by arresting Dr. Kafil Khan, that he has made inflammatory and provocative statements which has promoted hatred and violence and then threatened to peace and tranquility, violates. It says that the government, UP government, by arresting Dr. Kafil Khan, it violates the fundamental right under Article 22. So this is very important. So Article 22, under Article 22, when you are not supplying any material, supply of material, you are not providing or submitting a representation, that is the supply of material proof. So it is violating the precious fundamental right of detention, that is detention, that is what you say, arresting, which is enshrined under Article 22. So the point here is what we are focusing, the keywords is, as I said, habeas corpus writ, and then National Security Act 1980, and then in regards to the non-supply of material. These are all, if you try to understand these keywords, then you will understand everything in regards to the how the question can be framed in the prelims point of view. And then Article 22, that is subclause 5 or clause 5. Clause 5 of. So this, or and else the other one is, you can also take it as Citizenship Amendment Act. These keywords, if you can try to focus in this, you will have a solid background in regards to the prelims point of view. So habeas corpus is very, very important for the prelims point of view. And before I get into the next topic, I would say a very good morning to Gopi, Nayak, D. Suvarna, Sribiki, Madhu, okay, yes, Azmat Khan, very good morning. And IS, very good morning to all, and a warm welcome to AKS IS Academy Daily News Analysis by me, that is Sandeep Bhushan Tumala. And I would read what Madhu has said. Habeas corpus issued by Supreme Court under 32. Yes, absolutely. High Court under 226 to have body of absolutely. I will take up all that, Madhu. I will take up all the 5 which will be very, very useful for the prelims point of view. I will take all the 5 writs now. Azmat Khan as, okay, IS says, good morning, sir. Me classes Saturday and Sunday. Oh, Saturday you have it. Yes, Saturday you have it in the YouTube channel. Sunday I don't take class. I made this point earlier also. Fine. Now, this is an additional information, entire additional information which will be very, very useful for you in regards to the prelims point of view and a better understanding about all the writs in India. Prelims point of view, that is polity writs. So, Supreme Court of India issues 5 kinds of writs enforcing the fundamental rights. So, writs are in regards to the enforcing the fundamental rights of the citizen. And the Constitution of India empowers the Supreme Court and the High Courts in the India to enforce the fundamental rights, which are part of the Part 3 of the Indian Constitution and Article 32 and 26, what Madhu was saying about it. So, Article 32 is in regards to the Supreme Court and Article 226 is in regards to the High Court. So, Indian Constitution under Article 32, you can go ahead with, or Supreme Court can empower going ahead with the writs enforcing the fundamental rights, which are Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. It's 1 hour. Shiv Kumar Paila has joined. A warm welcome to you, Shiv Kumar, to AKS IS Academy Daily News Analysis. It is 1 hour. And the 5 types of writs are, as we are, I mean, you all have to know this writs. Very, very important for prelims point of view. And prior to that, India has borrowed this English law, wherein in UK it is called as prerogative. prerogative writ. So for the five writs are habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certioria, and then quo warranto. So these are the 5 types of writs which are definitely you need to understand and you need to know for the prelims point of view while you are preparing for the any competitive exam and especially for the UPSC. So we will look at the habeas corpus. The Latin name word habeas corpus means to have the body of. What to have the body of? What does the habeas corpus? Because this was filed by the mother of Dr. Kafil Khan. By the Kafil Khan mother, it was filed in the Allahabad High Court. And this is what? So this is what? To enforce the fundamental right of an individual liberty against unlawful detention. So it is unlawful arrest. Detention is arrest. So based on this unlawful detention, habeas corpus writ was filed in the Allahabad High Court by the mother of Dr. Kafil Khan. Good job, John. Janardhan, very good morning. Vasu, Surendra, very good morning to both of you. And we will look at mandamus. So what is mandamus? Mandamus means the writ is called as we command. Is called as we command. So this is used by the court to order the public official. Why? Because the public officials who has failed to perform his duty. So any public official who has failed to perform his duty or failed or refused. So any public official who fails or who refuses to perform his duty or to resume his work, there you can file the writ that is called as mandamus. We command. So you are commanding the public official to do his or to perform his duty. And it can be issued against any public body, corporation, inferior court, a tribunal or a government for any kind of purpose. Yes. Absolutely. That is what I was saying. It is from UK, English. And Venkatesh has also joined. A warm welcome to you, Venkatesh. And prohibition. This is another writ. Prohibition means to forbid, to prevent. Forbid is to prevent. So what does it say? So a court which is higher. So higher court will issue the lower court. Higher court will issue the lower court. What it will issue? The prohibition writ. The writ which is called prohibition. To prevent, to forbid, to stop. What? Why it will issue? The higher court will issue to the lower court the prohibition writ. It will ask the lower court not to exceed its jurisdiction. Not to exceed its jurisdiction. That is legal rights. So whenever a lower court is exceeding its legal rights, jurisdiction, so the high court can issue the prohibition writ against the court which is lower in position. And the fourth one is certioria. So certioria means what? It is to be certified or to be informed. So again, a certified or to be informed. This writ is issued by the higher court. Again, from the higher court to lower court. So it is issued by the higher court to lower court or any tribunal also. What it will issue? That it will issue an order, that is a writ, that it wants to transfer a case from the tribunal or lower court to the higher court. So it wanted to transfer. It wants to transfer the case which is pending or which is going on or which is being part of the case in the tribunal or in regards to the lower court or in the higher court. That can be issued a writ, certioria, by the higher courts to the lower courts, or it wanted or it will ask to squash the entire order of the case itself. And then quo warranto is the fifth writ. It literally means by what authority you are questioning. So here the Supreme Court or the High Court will issue this writ, that is quo warranto. Supreme Court or High Court will issue the quo warranto to prevent any illegal usurpation of a public office. So whenever there is usurpation, that usurpation means take over or take away, take over, usurp, usurp. That is, you take over a public office by a person. So whenever a person is taking over a public office, so then the Supreme Court or the High Court will issue a writ in regards to the preventing the illegal takeover or usurpation of a public office by a person. By a person. So this is called quo warranto. So these are very important in regards to the prelims point of view, and you all have to, as a civil servant aspirants, civil servant aspirants preparing, you should definitely know the 5 writs. And Gopinayak has joined. A warm welcome to you, Gopinayak. And the other news is loan moratorium is extended to 2 years. So we were talking about this since in the last week also, that the court was asking the government of India about, because loan moratorium scheme was supposed to, I am saying supposed to get, or the deadline or the last final date or the deadline was August 31st 2020. What do you mean by moratorium? Suspension, temporary suspension. Moratorium is temporary suspension. So what is this loan moratorium? Because I have explained, because of the national lockdown, because of the economic activity getting or damage, economic activity was damaged. So the manufacturing industries were not able to go ahead with any kind of economic activity, and that has impacted the individuals. That is, I did say in regards to the personal loan or home loan or vehicle loan or business loan, all these loans, many of them were unable to repay, and when they were unable to repay, then there would be a defaulters, and then once they are defaulters, the businessman or a small businessman, they would be under non-performing assets. So to overcome that, there will be a defaulter and be part of the non-performing assets. The RBI has gone ahead with or finance minister or loan, RBI has come up with a scheme called as loan moratorium scheme, and that was to be ended on August 31st. So the Supreme Court has asked the government to file an affidavit, that whether you extend the loan moratorium scheme or whether you are charging interest on interest. So it has asked about the deadline of the loan moratorium scheme, whether it will be increased. So deadline. So there was 2 points what the Supreme Court has asked. Be clear about interest on interest, what you are actually making it very clear in the loan moratorium scheme and the deadline. So the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta has appeared. Solicitor General has appeared for the Union Government and RBI in the Supreme Court, and he has informed the Supreme Court that the loan moratorium scheme will be extended for another 2 years. This is important. Will be extended for another 2 years. So the deadline, which was August 31st 2020, now they say that they will extend it for another 2 years. So in regards to the deadline, they have given an answer. Right? So now we will look at on the interest on interest, what the government and the RBI or the Union Government has said, and who has represented it in the Supreme Court? Solicitor General, and he has also made it very clear that the Ministry of Finance on the waiver of the interest on interest during moratorium would be against basic canons of finance. So it says that we cannot go ahead with waiving. So waiver on interest is not possible. Because why? Why is it not possible? Because it would be against the basic canons, that is basic rules of finance. This is very important keyword. The waiver on the interest on interest during moratorium would be against the basic canons of finance. So it is very clear that the interest would be accrued on the borrowers who are availing the loan moratorium scheme. But the deadline would be extended because the RBI very clearly said that the deadline would be only August 31st in regards to the suspension. But taking into consideration of the business loans or startups or entrepreneurs, so it has taken into consideration that the Indian economy is going to contract for another 4 quarters. So taking into consideration, they have extended the deadline. But in regards to the interest on interest, the loan amount can be, what do you say, till another 2 years. If they did not pay also, it is okay, but later on they have to pay. But later on when they are paying, they have to pay the interest also. That is what the finance ministry or part of the RBI is saying. If suppose some X company is paying the loan after 1 year from April 2020, they will pay it in the month April 2021. So they can start, I mean, for this 1 year they can suspend the loan payment. But that 1 year, that is for 12 months, they will calculate the interest. The RBI or the particular national bank will calculate the interest for the entire 12 months, and then you have to pay the interest. So the deadline is extended, but the interest will be calculated. This is very, very important conceptual understanding from economy point of view. Please do understand, from economy point of view, this is important. Economy. Why? Because waiver of the interest on interest during moratorium would be against the basic canons of finance. Fine. And another point is here, Solicitor General. So can you tell me, anyone, can you tell me who is Solicitor General? And I was talking about Attorney General also. Yesterday also I did talk, and last week also I was talking about Attorney General in regards to the contempt of case, contempt of court, wherein Attorney General was saying that to the Supreme Court, he was saying to the Supreme Court, who is Attorney General? K.K. Venugopal. Please, I am waiting for you all. In regards to the Solicitor General, who is Solicitor General? So, Attorney General was pleading or asking the Supreme Court not to punish whom? The civil rights lawyer Prashant Bhushan, Attorney General. Tushar Mehta, yes, Tushar Mehta, okay. Solicitor General, fine. Here it is there, Tushar Mehta, okay, fine, very good. Who is he? Who is Tushar Mehta? Solicitor General, you would say. Okay, fine, very good. Harika says Tushar Mehta is Solicitor General. But why am I linking again here Attorney General? Because Solicitor General is the second rank law officer of Government of India, and Attorney General is primary. That means first rank legal or law officer. Legal or law officer of Government of India. Government of India. And you have this, he has been, law officer, they are for 3 years, their tenure is 3 years, and they are as per Article 76. As per Article 76. Advocate of the government, yes. Law officer, yes, absolutely. Legal officer or law officer, and is the primary, first law officer, the top law officer of the Government of India. and Article 76. This is very important. 76. So look at here. It looks very simple. This loan moratorium scheme, you might think that we have discussed it earlier. Yes, no doubt we have discussed it earlier. But we need to look at Solicitor General has made, or he has informed the Supreme Court. So who is Solicitor General? Fine. Who is Attorney General? This is the questions you need to raise or raise within yourself. And these are the keywords. When you identify the keywords and link it with the UPSC preliminary examination, so then you will be having edge over others. Senior Counsel in India, absolutely very well said. This Suvarna. So why I am saying is your strategy. This is what I would always focus, and I would repeatedly say strategy is important, keywords are important. You need to identify it. And I also say that this is my punch or tagline, identifying or emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases. So Solicitor General, it looks very simple. Attorney General, it looks very simple, but it could be part of your prelims. Because who is the first law officer, or else Senior Counsel in India, or else the advocate of the government, or else the first legal officer? So Attorney General, which as per Article 76. So second law officer is Solicitor General, who is Tushar Mehta now. So all these which look simple are the one which might be the probable question in the prelims. So very well said, Harika, Madhu and Suvarna also, and others also. Please try to be part of our discussion. And Rajnath meets Dowal Rawat over LAC. So the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has met the National Security Advisor and the Chief of Defence Staff and the three chiefs of all the services. So why the Defence Minister has met the National Security Advisor, Chief of Defence Staff and the chiefs of the services? Because the ongoing skirmish or the face-off between India and China along the LAC to discuss the situation. So definitely yesterday I did talk about, after a month or so we discussed in the class in the daily news analysis. Yesterday we discussed about the way the south bank of Pyongyang Lake, and then in regards to the another pass mountain ridges, the PLA, that is the Chinese army, has entered further on August 29 night of August 29, they have entered still further into Indian territory. So to discuss this situation along the south of Pyongyang Lake, and to discuss that, he has called National Security Advisor, that is Ajit Doval, and then Chief of Defence Staff, that is Bipin Rawat, and all the three. And there the discussion is because how to take up the issue. That is what it is. And yesterday I was talking about Chuzul. I did discuss about in the image about the Chuzul. So we have discussed that there were different levels of talks. As I discussed, military engagement level talks, diplomatic engagement level talks, and then special representative engagement level talks. So part of the military, we have seen the brigadier level talks have taken place yesterday in the Chuzul, and there the talks were in regards to the confidence building measures. So they would discuss there and they would come up with a few measures which would build confidence between both the countries, and then that would de-escalate. I was talking about. So confidence building measures are for what? To de-escalate. That means to de-escalate the tension. That means to relieve the tensions along the LAC between India and China. And army has also deployed troops, that is Indian government has deployed troops at two peaks in Chuzul sector, that is at the Spangur Gap on the Indian side. Spangur Gap. But what Chinese claim is that Spangur Gap, that is the sector in the Chuzul sector, that area, Spangur Gap, even China is claiming that area. China is also claiming that area. This is now the bone of contention. Spanger Gap is a bone of contention between India and China in the Chushul sector. That even China is claiming the Spanger Gap, and that is what Defense Minister Rajnath Singh wanted to discuss the situation, which is again boiling between India and China along the LAC. And in turn, China is demanding India to withdraw the Indian troops from the Chushul sector, because they are claiming that Chushul sector, which is part of the China, and most important is they are still in the south bank of Pangong. As I said, south bank of Pangong, making ingress, that is they are getting further into finger 4 of the north bank of Pangong Lake, which they have done it in the first week of May. And they are definitely, that is PLA, that is People's Liberation Army, that is Chinese troops, are further trying to build up. They are further trying to build up in the finger 4 area along the Pangong Lake, and that is very clearly that when they are going at the further build up, or they are making the ingress into intrusion. Ingress is intrusion. Intrusion in the sense they are coming into Indian territory. Intrusion. So this very clearly states that they are preparing to stay even during the winter season in the along the finger areas along the Pangong Lake, and they are further getting into finger 4 area. So you have, as I discussed long back, you have finger 1 to finger 8 in the Pangong Lake, Pangong So Lake. I will explain you. I'll show you the picture. Don't worry about the finger 1 to 8. Fine. And there were 5 rounds till now. Right from May, there were 5 rounds. 5 rounds of talks, corps level. So corps commander level talks. If you look at, there were 5 rounds. And the first one was in the month of May, wherein there was violent clashes, and on June 15th, the midnight, we have seen 20 Indian brave soldiers were martyred. That was the first. There was the talks going on, that is corps commander level talks. The first one in the month of May, and after that June 15, we have seen the 20 Indian brave soldiers were martyred. So this is finger 1, this is Pangong So Lake. You have it this way, the direction is this way. It's a curve one, semicircle one, right? So you have finger 1, finger 2, finger 3 and finger 4, and India controls up to finger 4, that is from finger 1 to finger 4 India controls, fine, and the control of China, that is PLA, is at finger 8, but they are patrolling, they are what do you say, having that movement, troops movement up to finger 4, which is the cause of concern. And the recently May 20, we have seen in the month of May, we had the face off between Indian troops and Chinese troops at the finger 4. Now they are getting into finger 5 was the area wherein face off has taken place, and now they are getting into the ridges of finger 4, and this is a cause of concern. That is what I said, they are further building up their infrastructure, in finger 4. That is very clearly depicting that they wanted to stay, even at the winter season. So this is the cause of concern, and India has control from 1 to 4, but patrols from 1 to 8, and this is what the bone of contention is, from finger 5 to finger 8. Indian troops say that we have the power to patrol till finger 8, but China is patrolling to finger 2, up to finger 2. So these are fingers. It's the ridges, the points. So these are the one. And you have another news which talks about India aims for balance with slew of multilateral meetings. So what we will focus here, the keyword is multilateral meetings. Again, this is part of international relations. Here our focus will be in regards to the regional groupings. I will say you what are the regional groupings, part of the multilateral meetings. So the multilateral meetings are being taken up by the defense minister and external affairs minister. So Mr. Rajnath Singh and Jaishankar Jaishankar, the external affairs minister, have definitely into the part of getting into the multilateral meetings. And why these multilateral meetings will help us, will definitely help us to make sure that we have the presence in the world. So definitely they will meet, the both defense minister and then external affairs ministers will meet their counterparts in the sense their Chinese counterparts of China and Russia. That means Russian defense minister will meet with Indian defense minister, and then China's defense minister will meet with India's defense minister and external affairs ministers, vice versa. Where? Because they will meet at SCO. Again, this is very important. Regional groupings, SCO is important. SCO is Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Why? Because Shanghai Cooperation Organization, India is now the member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Along with India and Pakistan both are now the member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And China and Russia both will be eagerly waiting that India will be part of it, so that any kind of issues between India and China, India and Pakistan, Russia would try to resolve the issue. But I'm saying it, as it is a multilateral meeting, bilateral issues will not be taken up. Please do understand. It is a multilateral meeting wherein bilateral issues will not be taken up, but there would be a scope through the backdoor channel to talk and then try to come out with some kind of positivity in regards to the India-China LAC issue and India-Pakistan, that is POK or Kashmir issue. That is the intrusion. That is a terrorist organization. Kashmir issue in the sense in regards to the terrorist organizations, wherein Pakistan is using their soil to train the terrorist organizations. So please do understand, it is a multilateral meeting organization, but bilateral issues will not be discussed. But there can be a backdoor channel and there could be a positiveness to have some kind of positive path to have the results to clear the issues bilaterally between India and China and India and Pakistan. And not only that, defense minister and external affairs ministers will attend the SCO in China, but India is planning to host Indo-US 2+2 talks. These are very important for prelims point of view. India-US 2+2 talks, that is defense and external affairs. Both the ministries from India and US will have that is external affairs ministers and the defense ministers will definitely have to have the discussions, they talk, and then they are also wanting to also have the Quad meeting, wherein Australia, including Australia and Japan. So India, US, Australia and Japan would be part of the Quad meeting of the foreign ministers. So this is very important. So New Delhi is planning to host the Indo-US 2+2 talks. Again, this is multilateral. Please do understand, multilateral meetings. So here SCO is a multilateral. India-US 2+2 talks, wherein Quad. When we are talking about Quad, it is a multilateral meeting. So why we are going ahead with India-US 2+2 talks? Because that would be part of the strategic formation. strategic formation. So SCO, and then India US 2+2 talks, and then Quad. Quadrilateral. Quad means quadrilateral. 4 countries: India, US, Australia, and Japan. In Malabar exercise, you do not have Australia part of Malabar exercise, but US is wanting Australia to be part of Malabar exercise, and there is a possibility that India would also accept Australia to be part of the Malabar exercise. So Quad and Malabar, you need to take it together. So Defense Minister would be attending the SCO Defense Ministers meeting in Moscow, as well as the External Affairs Minister Jaishankar would also go ahead with the virtual meeting of BRICS. So these are very important. So SCO, BRICS, and then I was talking about US, India, which India is trying to plan for 2+2 talks. 2+2 talks. So what is important is when you are able to understand the SCO, BRICS. So what is your area of the keywords here is the SCO, BRICS, and US, India, or the fourth one you can take it as Quad, quadrilateral. So all these are what? Regional groupings or multilateral groupings. Why we are looking at these regional groupings or multilateral groupings? Part of international relations. Again, these are what? Dynamic part. The current part in regards to the regional and multilateral groupings in regards to SCO. So there could be a possibility of question framed on the SCO, which is actually a current one. So there could be a question in regards to the dynamic or static one. So you need to understand about when it was formed, the members, when India was part of the member, what is the mission or vision, and how this co-meeting and the BRICS will affect the India's interest. So this way you need to focus. These are the way how you need to focus in regards to international relations, dynamic or static part. So dynamic, when it has happened and what. And the other point which is very, very important is in spite of, I am saying in spite of, India has pulled out its troops from a military exercise wherein it was hosted by Russia in Astrakhan. So this month, September, from September 7 to 12, it is supposed to take place, but India initially said that it would be part of the military exercise which is hosted by Russia, but couple of days back it said India has decided to pull out of the troops. This is again important for prelims point of view. From the military exercise where in Astrakhan, hosted by Russia. Why? Because of the armies which are facing, or the phase of which is taking place along the LSA in the eastern Ladakh between India and China, and also the kind of terrorists which are intrusion of terrorists into Kashmir along the LOC. So LAC and LOC, and also the COVID-19 pandemic situation has also been part of the reasons why India has pulled out of the military exercise which is being hosted by Russia in Astrakhan, wherein 18 countries armies will be part of the military exercise, and this is very, very important for prelims point of view. The military exercise hosted by Russia would be taken up by the 18 countries, would be part of it is 18 countries in Astrakhan, and that is called as Caucasus 2020. Very important for prelims point of view. And the 18 countries are China, Pakistan, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Mongolia, Syria, Iran, Egypt, Belarus, Turkey, Armenia, Abkhazia, South Ossetia, Azerbaijan, and Turkmenistan. So you have Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. So 5 Central Asian countries are part of it. So this is, and before coming to that picture or image, I would also take up this Quad. The US State Department Secretary Stephen Biegun has said that India is going to conduct the Quad ministerial meeting in this fall. Fall in the sense October, that is winter. Fall means winter. So it is as a part of US India Strategic Forum event, as a part of US India Strategic Partnership Forum. This is again very important for prelims and mains point of view. Prelims and mains point of view, US India SPF. US India SPF, that is Strategic Partnership Forum event. The US State Department Deputy Secretary has said that India will go ahead with the conducting in this fall, that is winter, in October, the Quad ministerial meeting, and also 2+2 talks will take place. So here what is important is this is Astrakhan. For this again we are focusing in regards to the geography map based. So there could be a question in regards to the current affairs, in regards to the military exercise where India has pulled out of the last moment, which is hosted by Russia in Astrakhan. Yes, no doubt about it. Rahul says then why India took back step in participation. I did explain. Because of the LAC, wherein our military army are having that face off in the LAC against China, and also we have the issues in the LOC, and because of the COVID. Rahul, I did tell about the reasons why India took back or it has pulled back. I did say, and this is Astrakhan. So geography map based. So you have to look at the countries of the Caspian Sea which are bordering the Caspian Sea. Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, fine, and then you have the Russia here, and then Azerbaijan, fine, and the countries which are a part of it again, you have the Georgia, Turkey, you have Iran which is bordering, fine. So you had what is a couple of years back you had Ashgabat, which was part of the question which was asked in the prelims also. Because of this, now there could be a question on the Astrakhan military exercise. So why we need to look at? Because it is again a Volga river and Don river. So there could be a question on the geography again, part of the based on rivers. So you have Ural river. Why I am saying all this is because again Volga and Ural are part of the Caspian Sea. They drain into Caspian Sea. Fine. So Don, again you have the Black Sea here. So based on the seas and the rivers and the places, that is Astrakhan military. So you need to focus this. You need to focus this not only in regards to the multilateral meetings but also geography. IR, not only from IR point of view, international relations point of view, but also from geography. This is how you need to focus or link one topic to another topic in the prelims point of view. And number of accidental deaths, suicides grew in 2019. This is a report by National Crime Record Bureau. So it is talking about deaths and suicides. Deaths and suicide in 2009, comparing it with 2018. So what is important is the report. So the annual report. When I spoke about report, did you get something in your mind? Because I was saying this last couple of days also. Please do follow the annual reports for the prelims point of view. I did say recently RBI has come up with the annual report. McKinsey Group institutions have come up with the report. Now I am talking about NCRB. And in the past also I did talk about the reports or the indices by the World Bank, World Economic Forum, or International Monetary Fund, fine, or from the rating agencies like Fitch, Fitch rating agencies, S&P, Moody, about the economy. All these are economic. So indices or the ranking of in the World Bank, World Economic Forum, or in regards to the OECD also. OECD. So all these annual reports you need to be thorough of it for the prelims point of view. So NCRD is talking about what? It is talking about suicides and it is talking about the accidental deaths. So we will look at the suicides. So if you look at the suicides and accidental deaths have increased comparing in the year 2019 to 2018. And then what are the cases are in regards to the family suicides. So here you have the mass suicides, I mean group of people in the family being part of the suicide. So mass or family suicides are being reported maximum from Tamil Nadu, followed by Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Punjab and Rajasthan. This is the report we need to, I mean you all as a civil servant aspirant, you need to focus because you can make a short notes for the mains examinations when you are talking about the psychology of or the NCRB report when it is talking about on the accidental death and the suicides So the top is Tamil Nadu, followed by Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, then Punjab, and then Rajasthan. And then if you look at the country, so the slight increase went up. That was 2018 1,34,516 and now 2019, that is 2019 1,39,000. So almost 5,000 have been increased in regards to the suicide cases. And when we are talking about the suicide cases daily, who are the one who are in regards to suicide cases are definitely in regards to the males and females. Definitely both are part of the suicide cases, and the one who are mostly in that are in regards to the daily wage earners, daily wage laborers, and then self-employed, and then unemployed. And also if you look at the females, the fourth one we can take as housewives. So the daily wage earners are 2019 29,000 plus and self-employed 14,000 plus, and then unemployed 11,000 plus, and total female are 41,000. And out of this, what do you say, half of them are the housewives who have been part of the suicide. So why are we looking at this data is because you can write, as I'm reiterating that it will be helpful for you in regards to the mains examination. You can make this as a short notes. So the one who are maximum part of the suicides are daily wage earners. Why we can link this is, again, see, all if you look at this daily wage earners, self-employed, unemployed, housewives, all this you can link it to the COVID-19 pandemic. I think you are getting the point. So COVID-19 pandemic to the suicides, how you are linking it to that is very important. This is what is analysis. And when you are able to analyze this way, you will certainly have an edge over others in the prelims and also in the mains examinations. So linking of the daily wage earners and then self-employed, unemployed, housewives during the COVID-19 pandemic situations and how they have impacted on the suicide. If there is housewives because domestic violence, has increased during the COVID-19 pandemic situation. Right from March, if you look at March 2020 till now, if we at least till now, August 2020, as per the domestic violence on the housewives has increased, and that could lead to the suicide. So all these are very, very important. How you are able to link one topic to the another topic in regards to the prelims and mains examination for the UPSC. And as I said, the unemployed are the one who are part of it. And in regards to the unemployed persons, Kerala is the one which is top. Kerala followed by Maharashtra and then Tamil Nadu and then Karnataka and Odisha. Please look at unemployed youths in Kerala followed by Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Odisha. So if you look at these South Indian states, you have 3 states here: Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So only out of five you have 3 states which are among the most suicides in the unemployed persons, and the most suicides in the business activity is topped by Maharashtra, followed by Tamil Nadu and then Karnataka, West Bengal and Madhya Pradesh. Please do understand, business activity, business. So Maharashtra topping and then followed by Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, West Bengal and Madhya Pradesh. And then suicide rates in cities is higher than the all India average. So the suicides in cities are higher when compared to the all India average. When you compare to the all India average, the suicides in the cities are very, very high. And the suicides are also in the CAPF, Central Armed Police Forces, and they are suicide due to family problems. Look at this, all these are social issues. So it could be part of the mains social issues. GS paper 2, you can take it directly into that. You can have that entire, what you said, this data, because these are all the statistics which you are providing in the examination, and these are all because of the family problems. How many? 38.9%, almost 39% to 40% of the suicide cases in the Central Armed Police Force, and this is as per what? National Crime Record Bureau report. And it looks, if you look at the accidental deaths, they have also increased compared to 2018 to 2019. 2018 it was 4,11,824 and then 2019 it is 4,21,000. So 10,000 accidental death cases have increased year on year comparing from 2018 to 2019. And the rate increase, that is accidental death rate have increased from 31.1% to 31.5%. So 0.4% or 0.4 accidental death rate increase has taken place compared to 2018 to 2019. 0.4%. Look at this. And most casualties, if you look at the casualties in the sense, deaths are between 18 to they are in regards to the 30 to 45 years age, that is 30.9%. Almost 31% of the death cases, accidental death cases, are between the age group of 30 to 45. Fine. And the age group of 18 to 30, if you look at what is the percentage, is 26% death cases. So this is the deaths. If you look at the age group, this, because this is also very important, age group. The keyword here is age group. And Maharashtra, in the death cases, Maharashtra is topping. Highest deaths, and it accounts for 1/6 of the total figure. 1/6 of the total figure. So this is definitely, it will be very, very useful in regards to the NCRB, because it is a report. It could be part of the prelims. I am saying it very clearly. It is an annual report by NCRB. And Uttar Pradesh is the most popular state, which accounted for 9.6 cases, and Madhya Pradesh 10.1%. So definitely Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh is also part of it. And if you look at the, we have seen at the accidental deaths. Now we will look at the natural deaths. So natural deaths are being caused by the lightning, by the heat or sunstroke, So if you look at the lightning, 15.6 percentage, and then if you look at the sunstroke, 11.6 percentage, and you also have the other natural death are because of the floods, because of the floods. And now if you look at the accidental deaths, accidental deaths. So these accidental deaths, if you look at, because of the traffic accidents. So you have the traffic accidents which amounts for 43.9 percentage, and you have the sudden deaths or sudden accidents or sudden deaths which is 11.5 percentage, and then you have the other one which is drowning, also part of accidental deaths. Accident is not just what you say traffic accident, but which could be part of the drowning also. And then also in regards to the poisoning, and then also sudden falls, and then accidental fires. So all these are part of the major causes why there are what you say deaths, most deaths. So if you look at most deaths because of the lighting, it is Bihar and Madhya Pradesh, followed by Jharkhand and Uttar Pradesh. So if you look at this natural deaths because of the lighting, because of the floods, because if you look at the flooding, it is happening in the area. Look at it, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand and Uttar Pradesh. So almost that central part of India, almost this central part of India. Again geography map based. Fine. Natural, lightning, flooding, that is monsoon. Monsoon. So this is how you need to link. And the majority of the death cases are at the age group of 18 to 45 years. So the keywords are suicides, accidents, natural suicide, deaths. And then you have the what is the major causes for accidental deaths. We have looked at traffic accidents, sudden deaths, drowning, all this. So the main thing is suicides, accidents, accidental deaths and natural, and these are all by the report by NCRB, annual report by NCRB. And we look at the recapitulate of the DNA. So definitely this Kafil Khan, when we have looked at in regards to the polity point of view, writs we have looked at, and also the articles we have looked at. Article 32 and then 226 we have looked at. So this and then loan moratorium as in regards to the economy point of view we have looked at. And then Rajnath Singh and Rawat over LIC crisis. So definitely we have also focused that the crisis along the LIC, and then multilateral meetings. We have focused this in regards to the IR and also in regards to geography map based. And then NCRB number of accidental deaths. Yes, this is in regards to the social issues, part of it, which could be what you say because of annual report by NCRB. It could be part of the prelims and mains point of view. Mains question. Shravani says mains question. Tomorrow I will go ahead, Shravani. Don't worry, because today I could not really find any mains question in the editorials and articles today. And once again, I would reiterate here that whatever we discuss in AKS, IAS, DNA analysis, AKS, IAS, DNA analysis will, I am saying it, which is being taken up by me, that is Sandeep Bhushan Tumala. Whatever we discuss in the daily news analysis, the next day, as I said, it will be part of the editorial or articles in the Hindu newspaper. And today also you can find what we have discussed yesterday is in the today's editorials. So definitely AKS IAS Academy, you are in the safe hands. AKS IAS Academy daily news analysis, you are in the safe hands. I can say it with a great determination. because whatever we are discussing, it's in the editorials in the following day, the next day. So today also you can see it in the editorial. What we discussed yesterday is part of today's editorial. So I hope this was a very informative, knowledgeable session for both prelims and mains point of view. So I would say a big thank you and a good luck. Good luck. May peace, health and happiness be with you in every walk of your life. And I would say please do like the video, share the video and subscribe. When I'm saying subscribe, as I said, please do subscribe AKS IAS English channel, because as I said, we will be slowly or gradually, within no time, we will be shifting the daily news analysis by me, Sandeep Bhushan, to AKS IAS English channel, because you already had the recorded one in the AKS IAS English channel of me, DNA daily news analysis. In the evening you will have it, not in the morning itself, in the evening, but gradually we'll go at the live rather than the recording. We will go live in the AKS IAS English channel. So thereby please do subscribe the AKS IAS English channel, and then do visit AKS IAS website and do subscribe for the Telegram link T dot, that is in regards to the AKS IAS Academy. And I would say once again that we will meet for the DNA analysis tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. and then please do maintain consistency in your throughout your preparation, and do stick to your schedule, and then please do take care of your physical health and mental health, because this is a mantra for your success. Physical health and mental health is the mantra for your success. And then Harika says, thank you. You're giving us to look into various perspectives. Okay, thank you very much. And I assure that AKS IAS Academy daily news analysis will certainly be beneficial for you, and you will certainly be, or you will have an edge over others in regards to prelims, mains, and also interview. I can say it with a high amount of grit that you are in the safe hands of AKS IAS Academy daily news analysis by me, that is Sandeep Bhushan Tumara. So see you tomorrow at 7:30 a.m.